So I don't know if you pay attention to the news, but in California, they recently raised the minimum wage from $16 all the way up to $20, and it's causing a bit of a ripple. And I've been seeing a lot of articles about companies who are struggling to meet this new requirement, and there's a lot of varying opinions about whether or not minimum wage is a good thing or a bad thing. So in this video, I'm going to break down some of the headlines, see what's going on behind the scenes, and then I'll give you my opinion on minimum wage and whether or not it's a good thing for the average employee. But before we get into that, if you're interested in learning how to reclaim control and start to act like the CEO of your career, check out my free newsletter. And in it, I share concise, actionable tips on how to approach your career and a job search with more authority and conviction so you can put yourself in the driver's seat for once instead of letting these employers jerk you around. Keep in mind, it's absolutely free. Hope to see you there. So a new state law went into effect in California in April of this year, which effectively raised the minimum wage from $16 all the way up to $20. And this will obviously impact fast food restaurants and retail more than any other industries. So there's two sides to the coin, saying that people who work minimum wage jobs can't keep up with inflation. It's almost hopeless to be able to afford life in today's environment. And I 100% get that. You cannot survive on minimum wage in most states based on how much things cost these days. Inflation is through the roof, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down in any appreciable manner. I mean, go to the restaurants yourself and see how much your food costs. I don't think you can find a hamburger at a sit-down restaurant that's less than $17 or $18 in my area. The same thing goes for grocery stores, and if you're not getting hit by increased prices, you're getting hit by shrinkflation, which is pretty obnoxious, and it's almost like they think we don't notice it. And then we have the gas pumps, and around here, it's nearly $2 more per gallon than it was a few years ago. So everything is going sharply up. And good luck if you're trying to buy a house, trying to rent a house, trying to buy a new vehicle, etc., etc. You kind of get the point. So there's a very real need for people to make more wages based on how expensive everything is. But at what cost? And the other side of the argument is if you raise minimum wage, you're just going to raise the price of everything else. And it's just going to keep a perpetual cycle of this inflation kind of skyrocketing out of control. And inevitably, companies are just going to pass these costs down to the consumer in the form of increased menu prices, which in a lot of cases, I think we're already seeing even before all of this new minimum wage stuff happened. And of course, there's the argument for mass layoffs, where companies will say, we can't afford this, we've got to pare down our staff, or maybe we're just going to shut down altogether and move out of town. And we've seen the dust start to settle a little bit because this happened about a month ago. So let's take a look at some of the headlines and see what's going on and what the impact of this increased minimum wage is, specifically in California. So there is a website called the Business for Fair Minimum Wage, and their mission is to try to increase minimum wage across the country in various states. So they've got all this information about Missouri, Alaska, kind of why people should want this minimum wage to be increased. And they published a paper saying that research shows that minimum wage increases do not cause job loss. Now, this was dated September of 2022, so a little bit ago. But basically, they refute the claim that increasing minimum wage causes unemployment and business closures. And they use research dating back in the 1990s, and this kind of some data points here. I'll leave a link for it in case you want to read through it. And of course, we have some research from our friends over at the World Economic Forum. If you know, you know. It says that this is why raising minimum wage can help cities to thrive. So they're listing out a bunch of data points about why they feel that the raising of minimum wage is actually to the benefit of people across all these industries and across all these cities in the United States. So then we look at the first headline, and it says, fast food workers are losing their jobs in California as the minimum wage laws take effect. And among the chains that have announced cuts ahead of the $4 an hour increase to the minimum wage are Pizza Hut and Round Table Pizza. So it looks like the pizza industry in particular is getting hit hard. But I'm wondering if we're going to see more and more companies announce layoffs. And then we have Pizza Hut, who's announced cuts to more than 1,200 delivery jobs in December. And some franchisees have also filed notice saying that they're going to discontinue their delivery services entirely in response to this minimum wage increase. And then we have Excalibur Pizza, which has cut a few, like kind of a 73. I mean, they had 73 jobs, which amounts to 21% of their workforce. And they're looking to transition entirely to third-party apps, probably like Uber Eats type of positions. And Newsom says that there's no exemptions. It's going to affect fast food, ice cream, coffee, boba tea, pretzels, donuts, etc. And this one's from Business Insider. It kind of says the same exact thing. Fast food restaurants in California are laying off workers to prepare for the $20 minimum wage hikes. So it's not just in California that this is happening. It is in New York City as well. Back in 2019, they also raised their minimum wage. Now it went from like seven something and change to $15 an hour. So it basically doubled at that point in time. And these are dated back to 2019. But this is saying that New York City has lost 4,000 jobs to the restaurant sector alone in the last year as a result of some of the fallout from raising the minimum wage. And here's another article that I found that's supporting the argument that the $15 minimum wage is quote unquote now officially a disaster. Basically, what this one is saying, and this was kind of surprising, is that roughly 77% of New York City restaurants have slashed the employee hours. So 36% said they had to lay off staff, and 90% said they had to increase prices following the minimum wage hikes, according to the hospitality survey that was taken just 1 month after the bill took effect. Now, New York has had enough time to figure things out, so I don't know if this data is still tracking in that direction. But what it is showing here is that it's a pretty immediate impact on the average worker. So in a lot of cases, these employees found that, yeah, they were making more money per hour, but they were working less hours altogether, and that decreased the amount of wages that they actually took home. And I would imagine things like overtime would be scrutinized much more closely, because time and a half at these higher wages can be detrimental to a company who maybe only has a 3 to 5% margin to begin with. And in a trade publication, restaurantbusinessonline.com, the opinion piece is that California's wage law could pave the way for $18 Big Macs. So how many people are going to stomach an $18 Big Mac, both literally and financially? And it's not just there, because California's fast food prices are up as much as 8% since the minimum wage hike across the board. And we're seeing it with a lot of these different companies, like Wendy's, for example, is leading the price hikes at 8%. They're seeming to be doing some interesting stuff with their menus as well, and their pricing. They're doing like this real-time pricing that changes depending on what time of the day you go there. Then we have, of course, Chipotle, who is raising their prices up another 7.5% in California. Now, Chipotle is already freaking expensive. If you've been in there recently, you've seen the prices go through the roof, and the portion sizes keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's to the point where like my pride gets in the way, and I like refuse to pay them what they want for these tiny little burritos or tiny little salad bowls or whatever. And it looks like they're going to continue to increase their prices as long as people keep on going there. Now, Starbucks is also, their food items are 7% more expensive, and customers at Taco Bell and Burger King are now paying 3 and 2% more respectively. That's a tough one to swallow, no pun intended. And they're saying that Starbucks has confirmed their price increase, saying it was largely due to minimum wage increases in the state. So we're absolutely seeing the impact in increased layoffs and increased food prices that are being passed down to the consumer. Now, this is leading us to the next thing, which is these companies are going to be looking for, they're already doing this, but they're going to be looking for ways to leverage AI and robots to start to counterbalance these increases in prices. So this is only going to lead to more layoffs and more redundancy of jobs. And this is an active thing. This is actually a year old. This is March of 2023. But companies like Taco Bell, Chipotle, Popeyes, and Domino's are actively leveraging technology like these AI voice bots to start to reduce the amount of human interaction so that they can, reduce their wage impact. So they've got these voice-powered bots that take your orders. I mean, I've been inside of like my local McDonald's here. You don't go to the counter and order anymore. You go up to a screen and you put your own order in, and then it handles it all. And then you don't even talk to a person. They just hand you the food. So you're eliminating jobs just even with that. So it says that this week, now again, this is a year ago, Wingstop restaurants in multiple states also rolled out voice bots for taking orders over the phone. And then they're also working with Domino's and Fazoli's to do the same thing. So they're eliminating those front-facing, I guess, the front-facing customer positions. So about 50% of restaurant operators say they'll be using technology and automation to alleviate labor shortages. And then let's read between the lines here and say increased wages. And that's going to be more commonplace this year. So they're 58% of restaurateurs are saying they're doing that. And McDonald's certainly is at the forefront of this. They have been testing AI-powered ordering through its drive-through lane since 2019, so this is nothing new for them. And Wingstop, again, is doing the AI bots. Then we've got Chipotle, who is also doing AI-powered voice assistants for phone orders. And then the chain is also innovating in the kitchen. They began testing Chippy, a tortilla chip making robot by Miso Robotics. And that leads us to, like, what about active robots taking over some of these jobs and removing them completely, right? Like removing the fast food worker altogether. And if we look at this, I'll just play a little bit of this clip.
Welcome to White Castle. This is Brittany. How may I help you?
This robot named Flippy runs the fry station at a White Castle outside of Chicago. With its mechanical arm and using computer vision technology, Flippy can cook everything from French fries and onion rings to cheese sticks. White Castle said it plans to add 100 Flippies to its kitchens nationwide.
We used to need 2 people to operate that French fry area during peak hours, and now we are able to only have 1 person operating that area.
Would you like to try the mac and cheese bites today? All right, thank you. If the screen's correct, it is 827. Second window, please.
Fast food jobs are demanding, quick moving, and sometimes even dangerous. But not for robots.
When you look at the restaurant industry, it's a little bit late to the party in adopting automation and robotics in particular.
So far, the restaurants that are using them or trying them out say that this automation really only has to do with helping relieve boring tasks from workers' plates, help make their jobs easier, let them engage with the customers more. But there's a lot of reports out there kind of guesstimating how many jobs could be replaced by these robots, by automation.
Up to 82% of restaurant positions could to some extent be replaced by robots. Automation could save U.S. fast food restaurants over $12 billion in annual wages.
Yeah, the economics of this are very, very compelling. If you take minimum wage, just around the $20,000 per year mark, that's the cost of 1 robot.
Other companies in the space include Picnic, that has a robot that makes pizza, and Autech, whose machines make sushi. So what impact will robots have on the fast food industry and the livelihood of its workers?
And I think the interesting takeaway here is that he's saying that the average wage for a fast food worker per year is around $20,000. And this is before the minimum wage hike. And he's also saying that these robotics cost about the same amount in investment. So that's just 1 person. So if a company goes and starts to look at the economics of it, it starts to make a lot of financial sense for them to really look at AI and robotics as a way of outplacing some of these workers and starting to make people redundant. So this is a really real thing, and companies are really doing this. And I think that these wage increases are only going to exacerbate companies' willingness to look at AI and robotics to replace these workers to get the wages down. So the question remains, are minimum wage increases in our best interest? Well, I think it's a double-edged sword. Obviously, there's going to be some people who are going to benefit from it, but at what cost? Because clearly companies are just going to pass the cost on to the customer. They're going to look for ways to reduce hours and lay people off, and they're going to increasingly look at AI and robotics as a way to eliminate people's jobs. So yeah, there might be some people who get a little bit more money in their paycheck, but for the vast majority of people, I don't think it's in their best interest. And let's face it, and this is probably going to be a bitter pill to swallow for some people, but in a capitalist market, you earn what you're worth. The market looks at your skill, and through the law of supply and demand, they determine what they're willing to pay for your role. And if it's me and I'm working in a minimum wage job and I'm not happy about it, I'm looking for ways to improve my knowledge, skills, abilities, experiences, educational background, etc., so that I can get out of that world. And there's lots of ways that you can skill up without necessarily going back and getting a college degree. Like course careers, for example, is a good option for those people who want to get into more of a technology-focused career path. Or there's the self-taught route. You can actually teach yourself if you're studious enough and you have enough wherewithal and enough motivation. Or for a lot of people, side hustles and solopreneurship can be a very powerful way to escape from this minimum wage trap. But the one thing that is absolutely not a solution that you want is universal basic income. And I know there's going to be some people in the comments that will say, well, this is perfect opportunity for us to implement something like that. If you want to be completely controlled by somebody else, when you want to be told when to jump, how far to jump, and if you don't jump as high as they want you to, you'll get shut off, then that's what you want, UBI. But as the CEO of my career, I don't want anybody else controlling my destiny, and that includes my financial destiny, except for me. And hopefully you feel the same. So that's what's going on in the world of minimum wage increases. So what do you think? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Leave a comment and let me know. Anyways, as always, appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.